I'm so delighted to have back with us today Bishop Harry Jackson. He serves as a senior pastor of Hope Christian Church in Washington, D.C., a church of several thousand people. And this is a bold servant of God. He is involved in many things, and we're delighted that he's back with us today. Let's welcome Bishop Harry Jackson. Bishop,
hey,
it is so great to have you.
Good to see you.
Now, to show you that I remember, the bill is 1592.
Yes,
What
sir.
is that? The hate crimes bill. Tell all of our viewers about that.
Well, 1592, the House bill, actually was passed on Thursday, believe it or not. We just talked about it last week, and it has to do with this: raising to a federally protected kind of level hate crimes legislation that has already been on the books all over the United States. But this particular aspect of this bill elevates sexual preference and that kind of thing to the same status as race, color, creed, and gender. So what we're dealing with now is that homosexuals will have a protected status under the law, such that if you commit a crime against them, you can get kind of additional penalties. But for the church, there's a huge danger, and that is that we will have a limitation on our freedom of speech. And in nations like Sweden, 2005 or end of 2004, a man named Aki Green stood in his pulpit. He read from Leviticus. He did 30 days in jail because it was considered hate crime speech. In Australia, we have just last year, 2 pastors talked about radical Islam, and they read from the Quran, and they actually were put to heavy penalties and fines. We find that in America today, we have the same kind of thing. In 2004, a 75-year-old woman was out witnessing her faith in Philadelphia, and she and 11 other people were arrested in a hate crimes-oriented thing just on a state level. And so there's a real danger that we will have our ability to speak muzzled. And so we had a press conference last Thursday when this bill was beginning to be voted on. We came out and said, you cannot muzzle the voice of the church. Now, what made our press conference so unique is that this was African Americans coming out and saying this, when heretofore, most of your viewers have not really heard much about this bill.
That's right.
Because heretofore, there's been a white evangelical group who rightly stood for protecting the nation. And what's happened is the media has kind of said, we don't want to hear from them anymore. After the election, they said, we don't want to hear from you. So this bill came up only April 17th. It went to subcommittee, and it went already to law, and it was passed this past Thursday at the House.
Now, isn't that pretty unusual that a bill can come up that quick and get passed just in a few days?
It is absolutely unusual. They were moving under the cover of darkness. Remember, the Virginia Tech thing happened right when we were trying to talk about it in some other press conferences. And while Virginia Tech was going on, these guys passed this law. Now, the good news is the same day we had our press conference and we got hits on newspaper, meaning we were covered in articles all over the country. And we went on national television with this. I was on C-SPAN on Thursday morning, and we've had a lot of interest about this. The president came out and said that he would veto this bill if it continued forward. And that same day, it was passed into law. That was the National Day of Prayer. So the National Day of Prayer, what was happening, I believe, was just like what happened in the book of Esther. We had Haman has his gallows set up, and he is ready to hang somebody. And on this particular case, God let him be hung on his own gallows. The presidential veto is our trump card. But the problem is that there is another bill called S.1105 that is going to, it's a parallel bill that's not yet come through the Senate. And all of these put this federal legislation out there and say that you're not going to be able to speak against gays, and that there is this protected class that they have. And so the danger is that the pulpit in America will be silenced. In fact, in San Francisco right now, we're just looking this up. We have a great group called Alliance Defense Fund who deal with a lot of Christian protection of legal issues, have reported that in 2002, in the city of San Francisco, their city fathers and counselors basically said this, that your attempt to witness to a gay person is a hate crime because witness. I'm talking about speaking your words. I'm not talking about preaching. I'm talking about someone coming up to someone and saying, sir, you need Jesus. You know the way that you're living is not right. That is a hate crime, and it hasn't been passed up to federal levels. But what's going on there in San Francisco, and we know that San Francisco is a haven for gays, we understand then that with the passage of this law, there's a potential that this kind of criminalization of speech and thought can permeate the nation.
So now, Bishop, for those who are watching, talk to us a little bit more, because when we hear hate crimes bill, that sounds like a good thing, and it may have started out to be a good thing, but how did it evolve and change into what you're talking about?
Well, what happened is there are groups. I was on a debate on C-SPAN with a guy who was a leader of a group, Leadership Conference on Civil Rights, that was founded in 1950. And it was founded to protect black people from all the things that we know were happening back then. And we're now, 30 years later, after civil rights, are seeing people prosecuted for crimes then.
Wow.
What happened is that groups like that began to enlarge and get money, and now they represent 192 organizations nationwide. Somewhere along the line, radical gay elements came in among them. And they said, hey, we think you ought to include the gay agenda and gay protection in this whole thing. Therefore, this powerful group with all the financial muscle behind it began to lobby to get these laws changed. As many as a decade ago, 10 years ago, this stuff has been being pushed behind the scenes, and then now under the cover of national crisis, they try to put it over on us because the House is majority Democrat, and I happen to be a registered Democrat, so I'm going to say that that way. The Democratic Party today feels that it owes gays and they got to pay them back for their support. So at this moment, they're paying them back, and that's kind of how it evolved. And it kind of takes blacks like myself to speak up, because if I say that this hate crime stuff is a bunch of baloney, then folks take notice. And it actually, Kim Daniels, who will be on a little bit later, and I organized a press conference. The first one was actually 2 weeks ago, where we felt that we weren't being heard, and we pulled it together in just a few days, and we literally had more coverage for a group of black pastors coming up on the Hill than any of the groups like Focus on the Family, Families Research Council, Traditional Values Coalition, Concerned Women of America got on this bill. Wow. Because the media said, well, wait a minute, I thought you guys were for this, you were against hate crimes. But we are saying that the freedom of the speech of the clergy, that the freedom of the pulpit has to be protected at all costs. And even in the black community, it was the church that brought us out.